Okay, so moving on to part 20, we have finally made it to Cinnabar Island, and honestly, this is the beginning of the last leg of the game, so not too bad. It's been fun, no doubt. Now moving on here, you'll notice that, sorry, I guess I manage my items first. That's generally a good rule of thumb. Especially after a training session, you pick up some stuff, you know, some TMs that you don't need. Some items or stuff. So our rare candies are piling up, which isn't too bad. We're at 9. We're gonna have, I believe, 11 by the time we get to the Elite Four. Now you're gonna notice here is that the door to the gym is locked, and this is what I meant about something you had to do before you enter the gym. You have to go to this place. This place is called the Pokemon Mansion. However, what it really is, and this is what I was talking about before, is getting into some Pokemon lore, is actually this is an abandoned lab, and in this lab was where they actually we see some log entries on the books, which are lying at some of the tables around here. There's an escape rope if you don't have a Pokemon with Dig, but since Kate's covering that, we're fine. There's a lot of places where you can find some hidden stuff here. I'm very certain I missed 1 or 2 things that are hidden, but that's just fine. You're gonna see these doors, and there's gonna be statues of. It's always been a similar icon for like the first or the 8-bit, you know, girly Game Boy Color Pokemon. So it's that statue right there. You have the option to choose flip the switch, and it switches the gates in some places. You see one right there. A few minutes ago. You're actually gonna get a couple of some trainers around here. They're mostly themed trainers, such as burglars like this guy. Burglars will have fire Pokemon, and 1 or 2 scientists, which will have poison Pokemon or some electric Pokemon like Voltorb and Magnemite, which will probably use Explosion or Self-Destruct. Yeah, just for some reason I do that. They might have Grimer or Muck too. You know what? I'm pretty sure none of them have a Muck, at least as far as this game is concerned. But yeah, they have Grimer. Which I'm not sure if the Grimer will actually have the Self-Destruct, but it definitely can learn it, and it's generally safe to assume it probably has it, because I cannot be asked to remember all of the trainers' movesets. So we see here that January 10th, that they found a newly discovered Pokemon, and they call it Mew. Now, what's actually interesting to note is that they don't actually find a Mew itself. They find the fossil of a Pokemon, and they call it Mew. I think in this one, here in South America, you see a new Pokemon discovered deep in the jungle. Now, I'm not entirely certain because the exact specifics, although the skeletal structure generally, excluding mostly the characters, some principles of the world, etc. Basic stuff like that, you know, basis for any other continuity, is consistent between the game, the show, and the manga. But for the most part, I'm pretty sure that it was a fossil that they found for Mew. And what they did was, of course, that we'll read in other log entries, is that they extracted the DNA from that fossil and started messing around with it. And in fact, they were messing around with it here, in this abandoned laboratory. Another little bit of continuity, or rather, a story fact that seems to vary depending on which continuity you're talking about, was that Blaine, who's actually the gym leader of this island, I'm pretty sure he's a scientist, no matter what continuity he's in, or a retired scientist. You know, he's got the whole Eggman sort of look going on, but here's a scientist. But he was supposedly, at least in the manga, I believe, he was actually the one who worked on the Mewtwo project, which is probably would explain his presence near it, or something like that. But anyway, I digress. So yeah, Mewtwo was effectively born here, more than likely. Or at least the idea for him was. The reason I say it probably was him is because, of course, Mewtwo got away, and he ran off. He wasn't happy when he did, so that's probably what wrecked the lab. As far as Mew is concerned, there is no reason for a Mew to actually be alive unless, of course, they actually found a Mew and caught it. And it got away also, just probably not so violent, because I'm pretty sure, no matter what the continuities are concerned, is that generally the behavior of most of the Pokemon is consistent, in which case, if you've seen Pokemon the first movie, then Mew is not really all that violent, whereas Mewtwo generally is. And so that's probably it. I know, of course, you can get a Mew via... You can only get him via a few glitches. but I'm not entirely certain if that's to confirm or deny whether or not they actually caught a live Mew. You know, if I'm wrong on any of these particular details, please, you know, let's get the record straight. You know, put in the comments so we're all on the same page. We all know what the facts are. I'm just going off of what I can recall at the moment. So now we need to actually make our way down to a certain area in the Pokemon Mansion, which is going to have, of course, the key to the gym. So that's what this part's going to be generally about, is trying to navigate, which isn't all too bad, especially if you've gone through it once, the Pokemon Mansion here. And then find the key to the gym, and then just fight the gym. And so that's what we're going to do for this part. You know, like I said, we're coming up on the last segment of the video game. So, video game, it must be early for me. We're coming up on the last segment of Pokemon Yellow here. All that remains is getting the 8th and final badge, so that we can actually make our way up to the Elite Four. And of course, all of you who played the video games before, not in a while, or even still, always know that there's a victory road before you get to the Elite Four. So yeah, some last minute training, and of course, this shouldn't be too much of a spoilers. We're going to fight our rival one more time before we head out. So yeah, I guess some of these researchers are here either trying to salvage what became of the project because we've seen some scientists in the service of Team Rocket, so they might be wanting to do that for Giovanni. Which of course in the anime he actually was the one who had Mewtwo clones. They actually never said who was actually funding this project, whether it was actually Team Rocket the whole time trying to get a hold of Mewtwo or like make no, they were trying to get a hold of Mew. And they ended up with Mewtwo, which is good enough for them because he's more offensive between the two of them. Or they were just trying to, I don't know, make a Pokemon. Or that just genuinely some researchers found a fossil of what turns out to be a very, very powerful Pokemon. Of course, if you're from my generation, no, I mean literally from my age group, you know, back in the day, Mewtwo is far too powerful and he curbed his tenacity, so yeah, he broke out. You know, back in my day, I feel old now. Mew and Mewtwo were, you know, they were the ones. They were the strong ones. You know, there was no Arceus, there was no god among Pokemon. Which, to be completely honest, looking at his stats, he doesn't seem all too much different from those higher up legendaries today. But whatever. I suppose the Mega Mew, too. That's come out sort of makes up for that a tiny bit. He looks more like Mew originally versus what he looks like now, or what he has looked like in his regular form, which is definitely a genetic mishap. Poor guy. He doesn't look too bad. He doesn't look gruesome or ugly or anything. It's just, but you could tell that he was fabricated, the whole thing. Whereas Mew is just very sleek, very natural looking. Speaking of which, I suppose I could also mention this in case anyone hasn't noticed, a very unique similarity between Ditto and Mew. What I mean by that is Ditto's shiny Pokemon version and Mew's shiny Pokemon version are all light blue. They're both light blue. Not only that, because this is probably to reflect that Ditto is in fact one of the failed attempts to clone Mew himself. And for whatever reason, either they kept going or Mew was actually viable enough because it could transform into the various different Pokemon to make other Dittos, although this isn't possible in any game so far. Whenever you breed Ditto with another Pokemon, you just get the Pokemon not Ditto. I'm not sure if anyone's actually tried. No, you can't. You can't breed two Ditto because they are genderless. So that's an interesting fact. I'm not sure if they either just made a bunch more or something like that, or they just made the entire world's populace of Ditto before they finally said, you know what, this isn't working, whatever. There's a bunch of Ditto out there. So, to reflect this, because Mew can learn any and all TMs in this game. Any. And all. I'm not entirely sure if he can learn all the TMs from all the generations up till now. We're coming up on Gen 6 by the time of this recording. But yeah, of course, to reflect the fact that Ditto can transform into any Pokemon and thus effectively learn any move. For the time being. So yeah, no interesting fact there. And then it's being supported. I'm pretty sure it's actually been confirmed too, but don't quote me, but I'm fairly certain. Okay, so we found the key. We just dig out with Kate. What we're going to do is we're going to take on the gym, but first, of course, we need to heal. Now this gym's gimmick is very simple. It's, again, modeled kind of like the mansion. There's a gate in your way. You can It's looked like just an environmental thing. I think I go in here just to collect some last minute, like, you see if there's ATMs roaming around here, and there are. But while that's going on, I'll explain the gimmick of the gym as we head to it. Yeah, there's a bunch of guys in this room on Cinnabar Island who will trade Pokemon for you. This is the only way to get to trade on an emulator unless you do a certain something with another emulator, a second program emulator on your computer. And if you were like me, this is the way you could actually get a traded Pokemon if you didn't have the trade cable, which I never did. Never actually found anybody who did. I only fought somebody once or twice, actually. Of course, I didn't win because they had Mewtwo at level 100, but whatever. I was much too young to understand the optimization of any stats Pokemon at the moment. I just played because I wanted to see all the German Pokemon. Which is to say I don't love that sort of thing now, it's just that, you know, I understand the gameplay mechanics much, much more. I don't grasp that, you know. So we go ahead and just manage our items one last time from the stuff we found in the Pokemon Mansion, and we head to the gym. We head to the gym. Yes, go on. Okay, I guess I'm just organizing my guys. Okay, there we go. Okay, there's the gate. Now these devices over here, they're actually interactive. They're for whatever reason, I don't know what they are. I really don't know what they translate to, but they're these machines. You can answer a question. If you answer the question right, the gate opens, you go right through onto the gym leader as it persists, asking more questions, getting them right. Or if you're doing what I'm doing, you just get it wrong on purpose so you can fight the trainer. Otherwise, if you talk to them, they'll just tell you you probably have to answer the machine or they won't talk to you at all, and the only way to fight them is to get the answer wrong. So the first answer is pretty obvious. Caterpie does not evolve into Butterfree. At least not immediately, that's what it's meaning. Now, a lot of the wording of these questions aren't necessarily right in and of themselves, but you can generally get the gist of what they're saying if you think about it a little bit. No, because Caterpie evolves into Metapod, then it evolves into Butterfree. Actually, no, I take that back. I said no. See what I mean about wording? Okay, Caterpie evolves into Butterfree. The correct answer is yes, but the real wording should be that it eventually evolves into Butterfree, because we know it becomes Metapod first, then Butterfree, but whatever. That was a little too more complicated than it needs to be. Now, I come in and fight this guy. I figure that's because he's on his own. I don't see his machine anywhere. I don't realize that if you go over to the other, like, room, I guess, or cubicle, that there's actually two machines, one's for him, one's for the other guy below him. So that guy you actually can talk to and fight. See, that was his. So this one is going to be, there's 9 certified lead badges. Of course, the answer is no, because there's 8. And then we enter the fight with this guy. These guys. And of course, this is the fire gym, so we're going to be seeing a lot of Ponytas, a lot of Growlithe, and the occasional Rapidash. Okay, there's a couple Charmanders too, I guess. Sorry, I forgot. You know, actually, as a fun fact, is that the least amount of Pokemon in a type is fire. There's not that many fire-type Pokemon. So it's kind of shocking. You know, I think there'd be a lot more of those. You know, the Pokemon type that I would imagine there would be too much of is maybe, well, none of them, honestly. I don't know what's gotten into them, why they hadn't made more fire types. Who knows, maybe coming up on Gen 6, we'll get more of those fire types. But yeah, they're the fewest number of Pokemon of that type. Or of a type. I don't know. Anyway, well, I was trying to figure out my own tongue twister that I got myself in, and I didn't see that question. Either way, we got it wrong, which is what we wanted to, and we get the fight. So yeah, Eric, of course, being the Blastoise, and even Kate are gonna get some, get a chance. Or I was gonna say get some chances, what's wrong with you? I was thinking like that. Okay, he's gonna say electric moves work on ground Pokemon. The answer is, of course, no, so we answer yes. There's the Rapidash. You know, some people say the sprite doesn't look too good for Rapidash. I think it's alright. It's definitely not the worst in this game, or the worst I've seen in a Pokemon game. Worth a good amount of experience, though. So what we're looking at is to get our party to around 50, definitely, at least, before we head into the Elite Four. So see... I accidentally got that one right, so unfortunately, I can make that guy up in Victory Road. This is fine, I just gotta find a Tombstoner. No, I think they're talking about Tombstone, which actually doesn't come in until, I believe, 3rd generation, or even 2nd generation, but either way, it's not the right one. So yeah, we want our Pokemon to be around level 50 at least before we take on the Elite Four for the first time. And the only time, honestly, because I'm only going to fight them once on camera, and then afterwards, for the bonus video, then I'm only going to go and actually train the Pokemon up for the special stuff. I hope you guys I hope we'll see you guys for the bonus stuff. Okay, so we finally make it to Blaine. No questions for him, you have to fight him to get the badge. So yeah, his sprite doesn't really look anything like he should. If I'm correct, actually, he looks more like the same sprite as the president of Slivco, but whatever. It's really hard to tell, but he does have his white mustache on his sprite. It's just really small. So yeah, coming up here is a Ninetales. Now the only really annoying move you gotta watch out for in Blaine's team is... well, that Confuse Ray is definitely not nice, but you gotta watch out for Fire Spin. Fire Spin is a lot like Wrap. In fact, it's exactly like Wrap, except it's Fire type. And same goes for Clamp. However, it's more so like Wrap because it will keep hitting you and you won't be able to move. So you want to finish these things off fast. So hopefully Stab Surf would do it. Unfortunately, it does not. So I guess those 3 levels are actually helping it out. Now, thankfully, quite to the contrary of what usually happens, Eric is just pawing straight through that confusion, which is fine with me. So yeah, he's gonna have Ninetales, Rapidash, and Arcanine as his signature Pokemon. Although I take it back, I think in the anime his signature Pokemon is actually supposed to be Magmar, but we don't see it here. So that worked a lot better. Thankfully, Rapidash doesn't have the newer 4th gen move, Bounce, which means it kind of acts like it has Fly. And that annoying Paralysis, which as far as I'm concerned in the later generations, I always get hit with the Paralysis whenever the opponent uses it. So yeah, this Arcanine, coming at level 54, is really beefy for what it is. And it hits hard. I mean, Eric's defense is pretty damn good, and it did almost half of the amount of health we had left. I'm hitting it with a Stab Surf, and it barely, like, brings it down to... Actually, no, it does a good amount, honestly. So yeah, that's the thing about Arcanine. It's fast, hard-hitting, not so defensive. So when I said bulky, I mean it's just big. Alright, so Kita comes out here. I'm hoping just to Psychic it, and honestly, that's exactly what happens. It's fine. And I got the critical hit, damn. Yay for these untimely critical hits. So Eric goes another level, which is always great. And Kia gets some experience. Oh, he's burnt out. And we get the Volcano Badge. And so with the Volcano Badge, this is not true. I actually haven't mentioned that too much. I'll talk about that another time we have the chance, about how the badges are supposed to improve the stats of your Pokemon. This is totally incorrect. It does nothing. But anyway, we get Fire Blast, which is very important because it is finally time for Kate to get a very powerful stab move. So no more Amber. The Flamethrower was too late on in her levels at 35. Now we finally got Fire Blast, which I was honestly going to replace Flamethrower with anyway if it got sooner. And with that, we finished off Cinnabar Island, honestly. Not too bad. If you're playing Fire Red, Green, you actually have another segment to expand your time between now and the next gym. But no! Next part, we're immediately going to the next gym, Vermilion City, the last gym. Oh, that was a mouthful. Anyway, I'm going to heal up, and I'll see you guys there. See you guys next time. I wish I could see you guys there. It'd be kind of fun. Alright, and with that, I will see you then. Take care.